Okay. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the War Room. This one is for the UFC 259 main event. You have to forgive me if I get the numbers mixed up. I've just done the 258 main event, and I'm going to try not to screw this up. 259 main event, the light heavyweight belt, with the middleweight champ, Israel Adesanya, and the newly crowned light heavyweight champion, Jan Blachowicz. Okay, 27-8 for Jan, 20-0 for Adesanya. Adesanya's got a 2-inch height and reach advantage, switches his stance, whereas Jan's predominantly orthodox. Higher striking rate for Adesanya, higher striking accuracy, high striking defense, less strikes absorbed per minute. So generally overall, pretty good. No takedowns per 15 minutes, 0 takedown accuracy, 86% takedown defense, which is going to be an important stat, I feel. Jan averages a takedown per 15 minutes, slightly over. His takedown accuracy is 52%. Takedown defense is 65%, which I don't think he's going to need in this one. But takedown accuracy, I do feel like he's going to be a part of this. And that's where I'm going to start, because the logical thing to do is to go, okay, what's Jan's easiest route to victory? He's fighting a guy that's coming up a weight class, that's got a reach advantage, that is almost 85% striker, even in mixed martial arts. The last 15% is takedown defense, no submissions at all. So like Jan kind of knows what he's getting. Dealing with it is a different thing entirely. So if you're edging your bets and if you go in the direction of the safest game plan, it's to take him down. It's the obvious one to do. I mean, Jan's a black belt, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. He's a big, powerful, strong, light heavyweight. He's got good grappling. Let me just have a drink while you watch this. This is a lovely takedown against Nikita Krylov. Single leg. And he has to adapt this. And this is a cool sequence, this is, because you can also see Jan working a takedown, trying to take the back in the process, but also defending a leg attack, which I didn't notice the first time this happened. So, Krylov throws a kick, Jan catches it. He drags that single leg in close to him and then starts reaching for the far side hip, as you can see here. So what he's trying to do, and look how far that leg is spread back of Krylov. So what Jan's trying to do in this situation, you can see that there's downward pressure from his back. You can see he's got the hook on the backside of Krylov's knee, and you can see he's got the hook around the back here as well. So he's controlling hip, he's controlling leg, and he's pressuring down. So what Jan wants to do is circle in this direction and place Krylov on the floor. But Krylov's takedown defense is actually really quite good here, even though Jan adjusts and goes even deeper. Look at that. So he ends up abandoning this. As he tries to circle him, the balance of Krylov is such that Jan then abandons that and goes to a body lock from behind. Now, this is kind of an awkward position, but as Jan sits down, what he's trying to do here, he's sitting down, and then he's going to use both of his legs, which are there, as almost like butterfly hooks, basically, but from behind. He's going to kick them forward, which is then going to fire Krylov's legs forward, and then he can throw his hooks over the top and take the back. That's what he's trying to do. But as this is happening, Krylov notices that there's a leg there of Jan, so he actually goes to attack it, goes to grab it, and Jan watch this foot of Jan, he pulls it back away because he knows what's happening. I love it. He pulls it away, but then the other leg goes in. His hook's gone in on the far side. Hooks in on the far side. And now as Krylov's reaching for this, he's still trying to get to this foot. Jan's going to kick and come straight over the knee. And then he's on his back. And he rolls to the top position, and then he's attacking. And he's got good top pressure. And you've got to think, if you're Jan Blachowicz and you've got top position against Israel Adesanya, you're going to think like you can rule the day. You're going to think like you can just smash him into the canvas and beat him up and wear him out. I mean, this is another good example of his forward pressure, passing this triangle attempt to side control. And then from here, he's just wearing on you. He's beating you up. He's pressuring you. I mean, never, ever lets the pressure off Krylov here. You can see he's got an elbow digging in the midsection here. You can see he's got shoulder pressure down onto the head. But at the same time as Krylov being facing away from him. So it's almost like Jan's forcing him to turn away and give his back, which you can see as this plays out. I'll just play it through. As this plays out, the constant chipping away from Jan from this top position and the discomfort forces Krylov to move, which is exactly what he's doing. And see how he fires that arm through. He takes a shot. He takes a shot from Jan here, a short dig there, and that encourages him to fire that arm through and put himself into a bad position, avoiding the punches, avoiding the shots. Again, if Jan can get into this position, which from the outside perspective is probably the most obvious game plan for him, he's going to find himself attacking heads and arms. He's going to find himself attacking the neck, same as he did with Devin Clark. You know, he can even finish these fights standing rear naked chokes as well. But attacking necks, attacking heads and arms, he's going to really exemplify him being a light heavyweight, being the bigger, stronger guy in there and being able to impose that physical strength on the guy coming up the weight class. On the flip side, like I said, Adesanya's takedown defense is 86%, and I would say that if we discount some of couple of his earlier fights in the UFC, that stat goes up again. Now, the Derek Brunson fight for me was a near perfect performance from a guy that was railroaded into wanting to grapple with Adesanya. Like, we knew full well that Derek Brunson did not want to be on the ends of the punches of Adesanya. But at the same time, you could have quite easily seen Brunson being able to get Adesanya to the floor and control him because he's got good wrestling. Adesanya just looked fantastic in this fight, though. He did everything he needed to do. Let me just explain what's going on here. So Brunson's shot in. He's got head position. You can see he's driving his head in, making that uncomfortable for him. And he's got a body lock. But you'll also notice that Adesanya's got double overhooks. You can see his hands are together right there. The reason he's doing that is because, obviously the benefit in having underhooks is obvious, but overhooks in this position, there is a benefit because it stops Brunson just level changing on his own terms, which is why Brunson then starts to do this kind of stuff. He starts to work these trips. But the athleticism, the balance of Adesanya pulls that leg out and just continues on. Like, he's very good at using his reach, his height, and his physical attributes to aid his takedown defense. So I do feel like he's going to need some takedown defense in this fight, or at least clinch defense, because Jan is a monster in the clinch as well as on the ground. But for me, this was just a great performance by Brunson because Adesanya waited for the opportunity to start with his striking game. He created space, but he didn't rush. Like, he didn't need to get the finish early. He waited to the opportunity where Brunson was starting to feel a bit panicked and a bit overextended, and his takedowns were getting easier to defend, and he was getting a bit sloppier in his approach. And Adesanya kept breaking the grip, kept escaping and moving away. I mean, he even tries to circle to the back there, but this is the beginning of the end. And that's because he knew that Brunson was going to level change. He knew he was going to be there for that knee. He actually adapted the knee to make sure that he hit Brunson on the chin, which I'll show you in the replay. I do think I've spoken about it before. And this as well, which, in my opinion, it went somewhat unappreciated. Most of the time, strikers will strike one side then the other. So left hand, right leg, right hand, left leg, etc., etc. Right hand, left hook. You know what I mean? Like, they flow on from one to another because you get a rocking motion from one side to the next to build torque. Adesanya is very good at throwing the same side twice. Like right leg, right hand, which is what we see here. But he actually utilizes the kick to bounce the guard away from the head of Derek Brunson. And this is the kind of thing you get from hours of playing in kickboxing and stuff, and having guys that you can kind of manipulate and work, and this is exactly what he's got with Brunson. As this kick comes up, you'll see Brunson goes to block it, but as something gets blocked, it bounces away. Like, there's a recoil force. And as the recoil force opens up, there's a channel right down the center, which Izzy throws a short right hook through. Bang, right on the nose. And the reason that was opened up, that channel wouldn't be open if it wasn't for that kick. Kick, the guard opens up, it bounces after the kick, and then he catches him right through the center. It was a masterpiece of a fight, this was. It really, really was. I mean, Brunson's not the most technical of strikers in the world, but which is one of the reasons why, A, we knew he was going to grapple, and B, we knew that Izzy was going to be able to pick him off at range if he was able to keep him at distance. Watch this knee. Veronica and I were actually chatting about this, because I don't know whether you can fully appreciate this if you're used to throwing knees, if you're not used to throwing knees and kicks. So Izzy knows that Brunson's heading down for a level change. He also knows that this knee, if he throws this knee, it's going to intercept that line at some point. But because Brunson comes crashing forward so quickly, this trajectory actually has to change. Izzy has to change it by pulling his hips away to create space for the knee. Let me see. I don't think it plays through on the same line as this, I think. Right, here we go. Let me clear these lines so you can see it better. So watch. Brunson's coming down. He's level changing, but watch how Izzy has to pull his hip back and curve the knee up. Like the trajectory of that knee right there is to go through where the neck is of Brunson right now. But he changes it so it comes up tighter. See how he folds his hip in here? Like, it's intentional to make sure that lands on the target, which it does exactly. I mean, the precision of his striking is unquestionable. It really is a thing of beauty. I know I talked about it a lot in the build-up to the Costa fight. This is where you see the levels to this game. Yeah, Costa's got great cardio and he's powerful. You know, I mean, well, he's subjectively powerful. Adesanya's got a craft to his striking, which you don't see from a lot of guys. That's why he stands out. I don't necessarily know that we've seen that craft from Yan. We've seen power for sure. We've seen good striking from Yan. We know that he's got certain techniques and attributes in his striking game that are very good. His overall grasp of the striking game, though, by comparison, I don't know as it's comparable. It doesn't mean he can't be impactful. It does mean that he has to close distance down if he's going to want to land with his hands, though. Like, Jan's got great kicks, which I will talk about in a moment, but his hands, when he's hitting with power, it's either someone moving into close range or him breaking the clinch and catching someone on the way out. Like, that was a beautiful knockout by Brunson as he was on the way in. But this, again, breaking the clinch with Rockhold and that short hook that he throws. If I'm Jan Blachowicz and I'm thinking, okay, my best route to victory is to clinch, to take him down, and to work my grappling. My second choice, if I can't get him to the floor, is to punch him out of the clinch. Because he knows he's got a height and reach disadvantage, and he also knows that trickery from the outside of Adesanya is so difficult to predict that he might leave himself open for something that he's not aware of. So to smother that up against the fence, to work his takedowns, and if they don't work, then start punching in and out of the clinch, that is where I feel like he gets his victories won. Let me show you this. When I'm watching a fighter, because I've been striking for a number of years, and I don't have the same vision when I'm watching grappling as someone that's been grappling for as long as I'm striking. That's for sure. Like I remember sitting on a beach once and watching a surfer out on the waves and thinking to myself, their comprehension of that environment is so much different to mine. Like, I see the waves, I see the ebb and flow and all that, but he sees routes and courses through that. A high-level striker will watch another striker and they'll do the same thing with their defense. I'm going to show you the first 30 seconds of Jan against Anderson. And the reason I'm showing you this is because I want you to watch the hands of Jan. And this is, I'm not being critical. I suppose I am being critical. I don't want to pick fault. I don't want to be insulting in any way. But what Adesanya is going to watch are the windows that can open up or can be opened up with feints. Now, Jan is very active with his rear hand. Oftentimes, there we go, look. Oftentimes, Jan will reach for punches that he thinks are coming. That's a feint by Corey, look. Corey does a double feint, steps but doesn't throw, but Jan reaches. Now, if I'm a striker, I'm seeing a tight guard there. If I'm then feinting and that guard opens up to that point, I'm seeing a massive window there. Like, I've opened up a channel of attack for myself. And we know that Izzy does this. We know how good Izzy is with, like, using feints to draw and force people to move their hands away and pull their head back. Like, that is danger zone for Izzy, because he's going to watch that. He's going to read that like a high-level surfer through the waves in Malibu. I've dropped this in not to be self-celebratory, so please excuse me, but this is exactly what I'm talking about. The reason that this landed was because I knew Ludwig had a habit of pulling his hand away from his face. So I pump faked it. I threw a jab feint to get his hand away from his face, so I created a window. Now, Go back. Hang on a minute. Wrong way. Let's just look at the window that Yan creates here. Right? Freeze frame that in your brain. Watch. Oh, come on. Watch this window that's created here. And you know, I wasn't bad with my left hook. My striking ability compared to Adesanya, as well as the physical attributes that he's got to lean on. If I can do this, there's no doubt he's seeing this. And watch how small the window is that I create. So there's my pump. You see I pump it and I get the draw first. I'm like, okay, registered that. So I do switch my angle slightly. I do the same thing again. Pump feint with a jab, and the hand comes away one more time. But there's my channel of attack. Yan's arm was here. So if I can find a left hook around that guard, and I'm seeing that, there's definitely Adesanya's seeing that as well. So Yan's got to be very careful at range to not be leaving himself open for these things. Pump feint right around the guard. It's one of my favorite techniques. It's probably one of my favorite punches I've ever thrown. There's the pump feint. The hand comes forward, and a channel's opened that's about 3 inches, which on Yan is about 2 feet. Like Adesanya will find ways through this. And then I've dropped this in, and I want you to watch Marvin Vettori. Watch the reactions that Adesanya's getting out of him without doing anything. He's feinting. He's not throwing anything. Throws an inside low kick. But he's throwing very little. Like, he didn't throw that jab to land. He's posturing like he's going to do something. Pressures. Now watch this. Watch when they circle back here. So inside low kick, and then you see Adesanya create himself a bit of space, and then he's going to pressure, and he's going to use a hip feint. There, look. Now this is something we see from Adesanya a lot, like this little slide of the rear leg to give someone the impression that a knee or a kick is coming. With Brunson, as you remember, that question mark kick whipped up and bounced his hand off his guard to create an angle for another punch to get through. Watch this hip feint here and how obvious it is, the bite that he gets from Marvin. Hip feint, leg comes up. Switches his stance. Hip feint, leg comes up. That's 2 in a row. He got him twice with the same thing. Like, this is 30 seconds into the first round. Like, for me, Israel Adesanya has already found 5-6 ways through his guard in this first 30 seconds. So you have to comprehend what he's seeing when he's watching these fights. Like, you know he's doing his research. Like, he's seeing windows through Yan's guard, which he can then exploit because that's his game. That's what he does. He did exactly the same thing with Whittaker, and he benefited on the aggression from Whittaker, which with Yan paid on the aggression paid with his aggression against Santos. If he's not careful, he's going to run onto something. It's crucial for Yan to be very cautious at range, because even every punch that he throws, if it misses, it's frustrating that it missed, but he might be forced to pay for it as well, which is why obviously the easiest route, the most obvious route for Yan is to take him down if he can. If he can't, work him in the clinch, punch him in and out of the clinch. But what he doesn't want to do is be on the end of those shots, because the whip, the torque, and the precision that Adesanya gets, look at that. Like, he knew he's standing right in the pocket here. He steps in, he gets caught with a jab there, which obviously he's going to hate. But he drifts out the way. Look how he swings his shoulder back. He comes left hook, which misses, but then this shoulder's going to whip back in this direction, and it's going to pull his right hand around. Bang. That bounce off the side of his head there, one, and then he does the same thing, left hook. Look at the position he's in. Like, he's shifting back. He's utilizing his reach, and he's fighting someone again that's got a shorter reach and height. I'm gonna mention one more thing that I want you to notice, because Adesanya does do this. And when you're fighting someone that does this a lot, there's a tendency to automatically try and keep hitting him in the head. You know, it's like, touch my hand. I can't touch it. You can't touch it. It gets frustrating, and you start swiping and reaching for it more. Jab him in the body. Grab the hand. Adesanya's body is right in range. His head's out of range, but his body's in range. So if I'm smart, and if I'm Yan and I'm facing Adesanya, I'm going to try and keep control of that instinct to headhunt, and I'm going to try and work his body as well. Watch this. So we see the right forearm land, and then the left hook land. Look how drifting. Oh, beautiful. I mean, that is I mean, that's Kung Fu movie stuff, that is. That's real life ninja shit, as John Gooden would try and say if he wasn't commentating. That's lovely. Really nice counterpunch. It just illustrates the fact that anytime Adesanya is at range with Yan, he's going to be looking to try and draw him in and pick him off. Try and create openings through his guard where he can be exploited and try and punish him at distance without even having to touch him to defend his takedowns. If Adesanya finds himself in the clinch, of course he's going to have to defend some takedowns. But statistically, it looks like he could probably do that. So then he's got to deal with striking in and out of the clinch. So the range of Adesanya, he needs to keep as much distance as possible in this fight. There's no doubt about it. There's one more option for Yan if he is at distance, and he has a wicked left body kick. This was his UFC debut against Ilia Latifi, who just happened to catch this body kick on the way out. And the reason this happened was because Yan chased him down and forced him into a choke point, which you've heard me say before. But remember me talking about what's going on here? My thing's gone. Oh, there we go. Remember we talking about Yan and his aggression. Now this worked really nicely because it encouraged Ilia Latifi to run back. So as he's running back here, I'm just going to illustrate this choke point. As Latifi's backing up to the fence there, as soon as he gets there, he's got two options, right? So he's going to either peel off in this direction or he's going to peel off in this direction. What you'll notice, as Yan charges forward, he tends to just scoop him in this direction slightly. So he's encouraging him to move towards the left foot. See how he steps across with that foot? Steps across, which looks like it closes this door and opens that one, but runs Latifi onto a kick, which in fair play, he's actually defending his head, hands up, but cracks him in the body, and that is a game changer. And then Yan just chases him down and gets the finish. But this is the reckless Yan that concerns me against Adesanya. That's the Adesanya that steps back, drifts away, catches you with a counter hook on the way in, and utilizes that force moving in his direction to punish you for it. Absorb what is useful. That's not only technical, that's not only knowledge and information, it's also power. Like if power's coming towards me, I can absorb that power into my technique by forcing them to walk onto it. It's the old Braveheart where they wait, hold, spears up, tongue out dead. Like, you can force someone to kind of impale themselves, and that's what Adesanya is so good at. But at the same time, if he's leaning away and he's striking, his body is vulnerable to these kicks. And it doesn't matter who you are. If you take a shot to the body, it's debilitating. And the worst thing is, poor old Ilia Latifi knows exactly what's going on here. First of all, he knows he can't get a breath of air in his lungs. And second of all, he knows that if he doesn't cover his body, Yan's going to start working that, which makes it even worse. And the reason I've thrown this one in as well is just to illustrate how effective Yan is with his kicks. Again, breaking the clinch with Rockhold. This is the end of the first round, and this was right at the end of the round, which could have quite easily been a stoppage. Bam, right across the side of the head, and Rockhold goes down. And then he gets up and he does a little dance on his way back to his corner. Let me summarize for you. Yan's obvious route of attack is to grapple, is to force him against the fence, take him down and drown him on the floor, pass his guard, smash him into the canvas and be very oppressive from that top position. Keep chipping away at him and beating him up and cut out all of his routes of attack aside from turning to his knees to give his back. That's the obvious route of attack for Yan. Israel Adesanya is probably going to have to defend takedowns in this fight. We know he's got good takedown defense. 86% is a good stat. So it might be a case of him having to defend takedowns for the first period of the fight before he then starts to be able to really breathe and flourish with his striking like he did in the Brunson fight. If Yan's not able to get these fights to the floor, he's got to utilize that closing range and that short range power that he's got going into and coming out of the clinch. On his way in and out of the clinch, you can't be too reckless. And if he is at range, you can't be too obvious with his biting on feints with his hands, because Adesanya is just going to weave a web around him and find ways to his chin. If he does find himself at range, the best thing to do would be to keep his hands up and work body kicks. Chase Adesanya down, maybe use some feints of his own to get Adesanya moving back, and then keep his head covered while he's hammering body kicks in. That's the most difficult route of attack for Yan. There's no doubt about it, because he's got to be at range and he's got to try and keep himself covered while he's attacking, which is where Adesanya is a specialist. I don't think we're going to see Adesanya grapple. I'd be very, very surprised. I wouldn't count that surprise out if he was staying at middleweight, but the fact that he's going up a weight class further makes me believe that he's going to gravitate towards what he's good at, which is his striking skill set. So Adesanya is going to come out. He's going to want to keep range from Yan, and he's going to want to pick him off before Yan gets his hands on him. If he needs to defend takedowns, he will do. But the longer it's in striking range and the more space, the more suitable for Adesanya. He may look devastating at 205, and it may be a very rough first title defense for Yan. But if Yan beats him, that is a massive credential for Yan Blachowicz, and it's going to do more for him as a light heavyweight champion than beating anybody else in that division aside from John Jones. So it's a big opportunity for Yan and a big risk for Adesanya to step up a weight class, but a well-calculated risk given the fact that the opponent is fighting and the ways that he could potentially exploit this fight. I think I've covered everything. It's going to be a great one. Enjoy the fights. See you next time.